Welcome to the Awake Space Astrology Podcast. I'm Laurie Rivers, your host, here to give you some inspiration to get those aspirations out into the world, or at least bring things down a little bit because the temperature is starting to get hot. Hi, Jen. We've got Jen, the natal astrologer, with us today, and she is going to, hello. We're going to hang out together for the whole podcast. We're trying something new today, so let's see how it goes. You ready?
Yes.
All right. So we're going to talk about the energy leading up to the full moon on July 3rd. And it's something else. It's a lot of energy. We've got some wild energy for this week. So we'll kind of lead with the week. Then we're going to talk about the full moon and the rest of the astrology for July because, the title of the show is Bombastic Side-Eye. So how you doing, Jen?
Pretty good. I've been sleeping a lot. It's just, having to use a lot of my techniques to bring myself in.
Mm-hmm. And when you say your techniques, like what are those?
Like stress response cycles, like completing those. There's like lots of ways people can do it, but I like to exercise. I do like weightlifting, or I do like EFT tapping. Also helps.
Yeah, EFT is great. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just little things. And dancing to music. I have like a special playlist that's like music that makes me happy and dance. So
What's your favorite?
on.
What's your favorite song to get the wiggles out?
I have a lot. I have a very long playlist. I think, oh God, it's like different every day. It really depends on my mood.
I get that. I have a Libra moon. I understand that. I have no favorites. But every once in a while, there's a song that comes on and you go, ooh, that one.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like a song of the week.
There you go. Yeah. So how are you managing through the energy that's going on right now? Because we've got Mars square Uranus, and it's in an approaching square. It completes tomorrow, Monday. So how are you doing with that?
It's been a lot. Yeah, it's been a lot of noticing when I'm like stuck in I don't know, just like stuck when I'm like scrolling on my phone, or I notice myself like doing repetitive tasks that's not really getting much done. I'll just be like, all right, we'll do something different, and then I'll like pull out the playlist or go to the gym, just do something else, and then feel better after. Just like, yeah.
Where's it hitting your chart?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
Pop quiz. If you're a new listener, Jen was and still is one of my apprentices. I've certified her in natal astrology. She's a very good natal astrologer. We're moving on to transit soon. So pop quiz.
Yeah, we got Mars in my 6th house and Uranus is in my 3rd. So it's yeah.
It's hitting you right in the nervous system.
It is. Yeah, I've been noticing that. Yeah, I get stuck in like a freeze response a lot. It's just like inaction. Like I just gotta like do something little to break it out. Yeah.
I hear you're a fan of baking bread.
Oh yeah, I stress bake. I made 2 really good loaves this week.
Woo! All right. I love that. What are some other ways people can kind of break through? Because this is a very tense, very, very tense aspect. I mean, we've watched TikTok kind of blow up with lots of people being right. You know, there's a lot of, because we've got Mars in Leo, and it's very idealistic. You know, people don't think about that with Leo, but it is my ideals, my values, my thoughts, my life force is being challenged by this deconstruction energy and kind of forcing people into these, you know, and if you're not managing that, you're going to just, you're going to trip on a landmine. So,
yeah. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I witnessed some of that. Was sucked into it for a little bit, and I noticed I'm like, this isn't helpful. Like, it's just people
Mm-hmm.
saying the same thing over and over. I'm like, just
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah. Um, one of my like my favorite way to get out of that sort of like redirect my attention is physical exercise. That's like dancing to music, walking, doing yoga, or just like a stretching routine, something
Mm-hmm.
to like just move your body around. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then if you don't want to do that, you could just like snuggle with your pets or a
Mm-hmm.
loved one, um,
Mm-hmm.
just to like calm it down, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and also doing something creative that can also be a really useful way
Mm-hmm.
to move through it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to just be art, but that is a
Mm-hmm.
wonderful way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like doing sports, any of those like fifth house activities.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. You kick the soccer ball around, play tetherball, do some Napoleon Dynamite action. Um, take a walk, take a bath,
yeah,
whatever will break your attention patterns. It's really necessary right now.
yeah.
Um,
Maybe like find something to laugh about, watch like a funny show, or look at
mm-hmm.
some memes. Just
Yeah. There, I have a ridiculous sense of humor, but the toddler videos when toddlers like going to hell for this, but when they run into like a wall or they're fine, they haven't been
it is
hurt.
funny. They when they like get up immediately and they keep
Right,
going.
like bonk, boom, and my kids did that, so as long as they're not hurt. Or baby elephants, I love it when they're like with their trunks. It's okay to be silly. Okay, it's okay to be silly. So many people in the spiritual space are, I don't know, pretentious. I don't know that having to, put this. I've got to be all together or perfect or try to be pure. Um, we're human, and laughter releases lots of important hormones. If it's genuine, there's no reason to be sacrosanct. We can be spiritual people and manage these times. And the thing is you might be fully justified in your anger. You might be like it might be something that is completely against what you believe, and it's really easy to get sucked into outrage. But if you can't do anything about it other than give a hot take that gets more aggression going, it's probably a bad move. It's probably a bad move. If you have to put the social media down for a minute, except my page or Jen's page, you can watch our stuff. Um, but don't get stuck in the doom scrolling. There's probably going to be some very, very contentious events. We might see some physical violence out there in public. Tensions are high. We can see that. We've been seeing people expressing their frustration. And I talked about that way back last year about what June would be like in July and August. And the tensions are going to start boiling over. And instead of being at each other, it's really important. I don't believe in kumbaya, but it's really important right now. To be productive in your own space. And by productive, I don't mean a 40-hour work week, but what is helping you find your peace? What is helping you navigate this in a different way than awareness does nothing without action. So being up on top of every little thing is not going to help you. You need to be on top of you and understand, oh, wow, this made me really angry. Can I do anything about it? Yes, do something about it. If you can't do anything about it, what can you do to make a difference in an area of life that you have some agency over? That's really, really important because we're heading towards that full moon on Monday. The third, I think it's Monday. It's July 3rd. Okay, July 3rd. Forget the day of the week.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
a
know what.
Monday.
Okay, woo! All right. So we have the Mondayest of Mondays, June 26th, and a way kind of wild Monday towards evening of the 3rd in July 4th is craptastic. It's craptastic. Um, there's there's going to be all kinds of events happen. We could see fireworks accidents, like big ones. Not, there's usually an accident every year. There's probably going to be more than one that make us all go, ooh. If you work for EMS or you're in healthcare, God bless you, because it's not just going to be the standard full moon or standard July 4th. You could see some real interesting accidents, things that involve failed infrastructure, roads, bridges, buildings, more than your average fires. And there could be, and if you don't like gross stuff, cover your ears, okay? But there could be some impalements and crushings, so which are no fun to deal with if you're an emergency service personnel. But I'm giving you the heads up. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. Okay, and it's not going to happen to everybody, but it is more likely to be seen because on the 4th, the moon is going to be conjunct Pluto, um, which is usually rather dramatic. In Capricorn, okay, so we're in a big time of change. And this is still not the hottest temperature of July, which is getting warmed up, folks. So Jen's specialty and her interest is in helping people feel more ease in themselves, understanding how to deal with stress responses. It's made a huge difference in her own life, and she's kind of channeled those interests into her work as a natal astrologer and has lots of references and guides. How has that work and astrology paired up for you, Jen?
Oh, it's been so helpful in like finding techniques that might work for me. Um, just like looking at parts of my chart and seeing like, oh, my son needs to be fed by like um, intellectual conversations with people and having fun discussions, and teaching has really been
Mm-hmm.
a fun way to do that. And then I need a lot of like alone time and like sensory retreat. So I have a lot
Mm-hmm.
of 12th house stuff going on. So
Mm-hmm.
I really value my quiet time and like stepping away from like the sensory overwhelm that can
Mm-hmm.
happen.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, when I look at people's charts, I'm like, oh, okay, this might be a way that you can care for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's something they already do. Like, yeah, keep doing that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, knowing the placements that deal with the nervous system, or how to enliven yourself, or um, people's preferences, whether it's Venus or how they best move energy through Mars. Um, has that obviously it's made a difference knowing that, but how freaked out did it make you when you first started reading charts that it matched up?
It's like every time that I have an epiphany like that with astrology, I'm like, oh my God, this thing works.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just like, wow, you can really see like everything if you know where to look
Mm-hmm.
and how to like interpret that language.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So having a lot of other knowledge that's not just astrology to draw from really helps like communicate that knowledge that I have in a way that's useful for people to like
Mm-hmm.
apply in their own lives, which is
Mm-hmm.
always something I wanted to do.
Yeah, it's like a personalized plan, that's
Hmm.
exactly designed for that person. Um, yeah, it's pretty cool. I love that you bring that, and the fact that my light just popped off. This has been okay. That is Mars square Uranus going on right now. If you've had tech issues, this would be why. Because Uranus rules tech. It's in Taurus. We've had tech disruptions. The tech industry is disrupted. Mars in Leo wants to be seen in the. I don't have that, but given it's getting me in production matters. I had an issue with the live stream today too. I still have to edit that. Hopefully it's edited by the time you guys are watching this. Going back to that tailor-made experience that you can communicate what you've studied, and that's something I encourage all of you guys to do, is take your natural interest, study as much as you can, as many subjects as you can, because it gives a depth and breadth in the experience of the reading. You're beyond the generalized, archetypes and intellectual folly, and into like practical hands-on guidance. And when your clients get a hold of you, like, because I know they do, I know you get the messages, I see them. How does it feel to know that something you suggested had an impact?
It is so gratifying to know that my knowledge is like helpful to people, because it seems like I gather all of this stuff that's just like what I do. It's my hobby, I guess.
I love that.
Yeah, and I'm like, sometimes it can feel like everybody knows this stuff, or I'm like, I'm surrounded by it all the time, so I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it's just like not really like sometimes it feels like, oh, I'm just like repeating things. But some people haven't ever been exposed to that sort of information or
Mm-hmm.
said in a way that they can hear it.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah.
really like that.
Right. There's
Yeah,
nothing
made
more
me tear up a little
gratifying.
bit.
Yeah, right. Because it does. Like if you've ever had a reading with us, and you'll know we ask for your testimonial. It's not just so we can say, oh, this person really liked my reading. Excuse me. Still getting over that cold. It's almost done. Um, it's it's very validating, especially for a natal astrologer, because when you're doing natal charts, you only see people like one time, and that's it. You have this deep, intimate experience, and then bye. And so having that feedback come in is really meaningful, because each one of those symbols represents like 100,000 different things or more. And so getting the feedback that it helped or even validated someone, you know,
Yeah, I
that's
really like that part. Like it's something inside. Maybe it's
mm-hmm,
you don't talk about yeah, like you don't talk about that stuff with other people, but having someone
mm-hmm,
else recognize that in you, um,
mm-hmm,
yeah, it can help you like feel more comfortable expressing
mm-hmm,
that part.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's usually the most meaningful parts of yourself that you've been taught to mask or squish down inside. And that's kind of what's up on deck right now with the Mars square Uranus too, because we repress and suppress our feelings. A lot of times we only think of it as like frustration and anger, but it can be our joy as well. If you've had enough go on in life where the minute you started to feel happy, you know, or here came a shoe. One of my very favorite things to do in readings is let people know, hey, that time is over. That time period that you went through, without saying, hey, I know this happened, right? Whatever it was. You say, those years, they never happen again, ever in your lifetime. No one can possibly live long enough to go through that transit again, or especially Pluto transits. Um, or you're going through it, and it's going to be this long till there's a little bit of relief, but there is relief, and here's your saving graces, and here's how you can manage that energy. right?
Yep.
Yeah. We had that conversation once.
We did. I was just thinking about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you saw that I was gonna go through my Pluto transit. I didn't really know what was happening at the time. You
Mm-hmm.
said surround yourself with a good support community.
Mm-hmm. Right. And
Yeah.
we had no idea you were going to end up being my student at the time. Well, I didn't.
Yeah. I think I decided that reading that like
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really, those Pluto transits can be gnarly. They're not there to hurt you, you know. So speaking of, when the moon touches off with Pluto in Capricorn on a mundane level, it's a shit show, period. Okay. On an individual level, this is a great energy to deconstruct things that are in your way of building strong foundations for your future self. So it might be crunchy and you might be in the feels, and that's okay. The key to a Pluto transit of any kind, including the moon touching off with Pluto, is, and Jen and I are both going to get hit in the chops with this one. Yay, us. It's really okay. It's really okay. It's a chance to release the things in your way, and that can include suppressed emotions. You know. Now, if it happens to be rage, homicidal rage, it's best not to act on that. What are some constructive ways besides smacking somebody in the face or doing a Homer Simpson? You know, what is a couple of good ways you can think of that might help somebody kind of channel that?
I had dealt with this when Pluto was first opposing my moon a couple years ago. I would like go into my car and just scream
Mm-hmm.
and let it out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or I would go on like a run. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not really a runner, but sometimes you
Mm-hmm.
just
Mm-hmm.
gotta
Mm-hmm.
go.
Mm-hmm.
Or weightlifting, or just like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like being
Mm-hmm.
careful, but like something to like
Move the
get it
energy.
out.
Yeah. Yeah.
hmm
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you like
I
close your eyes and imagine your frustrations like shadow box.
yeah. Yeah. You can beat a pillow. Um, you know, um, I highly suggest removing yourself away from whatever triggered you because it's nobody's job to manage your triggers. And I know that sounds awful when you're in the middle of it. But the day you realize they're yours, you do something about it. Um, I agree with the screaming in the car. I actually like to get in my car and go somewhere rural and flat, crank up some heavy metal or Alanis Morissette and some of the old 90s tunes. Sometimes it's Rage Against the Machine. And then just, whatever, and say whatever I need to say that I really know saying to the person that I want to say it to. And it doesn't have to be a close person. It might be somebody, not related to you, like a boss or a cop or, you don't want to go off on those people. And you don't want to go off on your loved ones either. But that's a good way to just kind of exercise that energy. Be careful while you're driving if you do it. And if you're one of, like, I can drive and scream at the same time, but not everybody can. And then have a good cry. A good cry. There's nothing wrong with crying. Um, Taking a nap afterwards is really good if you can. Right?
It's my classic move.
Yeah, right. And if you
Scream it
can't,
out and then just
right? Yeah. Think of toddlers. Think of toddlers.
yeah.
We punish toddlers who are barely verbal for expressing their frustration. They don't know what they're doing. People are like, they know what they're doing. They're being manipulative. They know they're upset. They know they're frustrated. They don't have the ability to verbalize it clearly, nor do they have the ability to cognify in the same way as I should be like, well, it wasn't real. It was just a shadow, on the wall. To them, it's real. When I was 3, I saw a magpie and I thought it was a penguin. It's a North American penguin. And I grabbed my mom, and my mom told me, no, it's a magpie. And all of a sudden it turned into a magpie. I threw a royal fit. She took away my penguin. Now when I see magpies, I'm like, oh, North American penguins. But at 3, it was really, really upsetting to me. It's a funny family story. But, and she let me have my fit and made me go to, take a nap. So often children are punished for that. And that is how we learn to repress our emotions. So you want to use your Mars the best you can. Don't use it to pop people in the face or get even. There's going to be a lot of wanting to get even, getting even for past events, getting even for injustices, getting even for imagined personal attack. If somebody has a different opinion than you, it's not a personal attack. Okay. It's not. If somebody has a different value system that includes harm, that can cause harm, that is still not an attack. Even if you're in the group they don't like, you have to step back from it. Doesn't mean they don't deserve consequence. So people who have hate speech, right? But you want to be strategic in how you manage it. Because what happens a lot of times is people want to speak their truth. It opposes somebody else's truth. It meets up in loggerheads. And you get no satisfaction there, right? You're not going to be able to reason with hate speech people. But you can form an underground movement that actually does something, right? You can turn your attention to support the people being oppressed. If we put more attention on supporting, not telling them how to live, not telling them how to think, not telling them to be like you, but saying, hey, what's the best way I can support you? And then not saying, oh, well, that's not what I wanted to do. Because it's not, you can funnel really good energy into supporting the people you want to support. Often financially is a good way. And they may have ideas about how that might work. It might not be their Cash App. It might be an organization. It might be a legal fund. It might be a lot of other things. So as we move through this week, step back. Because just popping off or trolling, which can be so fun. I love to troll middle-aged white men on LinkedIn. I had to take LinkedIn off my phone because I set them up. I let them get into mansplaining, and then I say, well, actually, Chad. And if your name is Chad, I'm not talking about you. I get it. There's this little self-righteous satisfaction, right? Of, oh, I'm going to turn the tables on you. But I didn't really do anything other than a momentary sense of satisfaction, which sometimes has its benefits, but not this week. This week, there are no benefits into competing ideologies. It's just going to escalate. And it's probably going to escalate anyway. We're probably going to see, like I said, I expect to see a lot of public violence. There might be with, Mercury right now is about to move into Cancer. So there might be some interesting, hang on, my phone. I dropped my phone. Hang on. Oh, I'm not editing this out. I'm tired of editing video. I'm just done with it. I'm trying to remember. I had it on my slides. Let's see. Yeah, Mercury's square Neptune still. So we're just shy of 2 degrees away from it moving into Cancer, which is so it's later this week. Um, mhm. We'll probably see some release of information tomorrow on Monday when the news cycle begins, some gotcha moments. It could have to do with espionage. It could have to do with secrets leaking. It could have to do with scandal, and that could be for anything in the public sphere. Something's about to be released, and Neptune's also about to go retrograde. When Neptune's retrograde, it is the clear vision. So Neptune direct, it's foggy. There's more illusion going on in mundane. It's interesting. When Neptune goes retrograde, it is crystal clear, better than 2020. And a lot of times it's when the cheese spills, because media agencies or governments will often release the tea in the summer because people are out having family vacations. But they forgot inflation is still around. And so people are probably not taking as many big vacations. Globally, we're going to see a lot of pissed off people. Every country is going to be facing unrest. So the Russia thing, that's not over. That singular event might be over, but that energy isn't over. Russia's going through its stuff, and Putin, he's on his way out. Those eclipses last year, we may not hear about it right away, but it's for real. So yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot coming up in July. We've got got to look up my transit notes. Well, the biggest thing you need to be aware of is the nodes are changing from Taurus to Aries, which means the South Node will be in Libra. So past injustices will probably be people seeking justice, and people are going to be, everything's going to be very personal, very personal. And it'll probably be very explosive. This is a very historic day, July 12th, because the node moves into a direct square. The minute it ticks over from Taurus, it moves into a direct square with Pluto. So we could see governments fail. I don't think it's going to fail in the United States, but we could see some issues in the state levels. We could see representatives held to account. And I've been saying I think we'll see quite a few elected officials, whether it's at the federal level, state level, county level, there will be either indictments or investigations announced. And it'll, my guess, now this isn't 100%, it's not, I'm not even 80% sure on this, but I'm betting some of those announcements come on July 12th or right after it, because the node and Pluto is square all the way through August. And there's, in America, we're going to see some. Now I know we have 68 countries listening in. Thank you. All the major world powers, all the former colonial powers, all the current power countries will see instability and protests, and people are going to be pissed because people are tired. We are tired. And you're going to start seeing people act on things in different ways. In countries that are really good at protesting, we might see more stuff going on in France. Russia definitely is going to continue to see instability. This has been coming for a long time. Will they end up with a better system than they've got? Maybe not right away. So people always think you can just change a system, and you can't. We're in the beginnings of these changes. We're nowhere near the end. So we're just building up steam for 2024 and 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028. But 2025 is a real blockbuster. The other stuff maybe like an ebb before it peaks up in 2030. So it'll all be different years. Don't freak out. Don't freak out. Have you learned not to freak out for me?
Yes.
Yeah. What do we do instead?
Find things that you can control and just don't
Mm-hmm.
worry about the stuff, the big stuff. Like, what happens will happen. And it's focusing on you and putting yourself in the best position to navigate those changes that
Mm-hmm.
is helpful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Because if you can navigate through and know you're okay, you can help other people. You can't help other people if you're freaking out. You just can't. You're going to make mistakes. And in if you're in an area that has a lot of volatility, you can't afford to make those kinds of mistakes. If you're not in the area where all hell is breaking loose, which includes a disaster like an earthquake or a hurricane, which we may see that too, or a volcano, if we can feel bad for people, I'm going to come up a little closer. It's not happening to you just because you're watching it on a video. People with video coming at us, it can feel like it's happening to us. If it ain't happening to you, it ain't happening to you. Don't own other people's pain and trauma. It is not okay. It's very rude, in my opinion. Um, take a deep breath, take a deep step back, and just like we talked about, find a way to be supportive and take action to support those who are directly impacted. Okay. Doesn't mean you can't cry about it. I'm the biggest softie in the world when I see people who are in pain and suffering. But there's a big difference seeing people in pain and suffering and feeling bad for them and imagining, it's an awful experience, but personalizing it. It's a different story. And we see that a lot. And it's not healthy and it's not fair to the people going through it. So it's kind of like when, I don't know, people always personalized when I was a baby. I had to have an operation at 11 days old. I was dying. And I grew up with everybody's story about how my death like messed with their heads and like they owned my experience, which I didn't even remember. Now, granted, that they were involved a little bit, but some of them even tried to compete with my mother's experience. And even as a little kid, I'd be like, how could your experience as somebody not in my immediate family trump my mom's? Like my mom owning that, because it didn't. She was a brand new mom, right? 22. I was her first kid, and her kid almost died. She gets to own that experience in a different way. But my third cousin, get your own drama. I thought that was weird. But we do that to people, so don't do that. Um, Moving right along, because I still haven't found my transits. But that's the big one. The new moon is also pretty significant, and that's on the 17th. And we'll talk more about that in a different episode. Um, what are you looking forward to in July?
Oh, oh no. Looking forward to doing more of the podcast with Casey McKenzie. That's been a lot of fun. So
Oh,
that's
yeah,
like,
let's talk about that. What's it called?
yeah, petty astrology.
All right. And what's it about?
This season Casey's kicking it off by watching Love Island together. Love Island UK. It's something all three of us, bonded over when we first started studying together. So we've been watching it for years before, and now it was really nice to have people just to like gossip with about
Mm-hmm.
it. And then as we learn more astrology, like seeing sort of people's placements playing out on the screen is really interesting, and it's fun to kind of predict who they'll end up with or
Oh,
how,
fun.
yeah, how their relationships might end out.
I love that.
Um, yeah, it's finally been going for enough weeks that we actually got to talk a little bit about the synastry of their relationships in this week's episode. So excited for
That's
that.
right. I love that. Petty astrology, discussing the dumpster fire, right? I see you guys gossiping about it. I think it's funny. I think it's great. I think it's a great use of that. So go follow Petty Astrology on Spotify or Apple, anywhere it goes out to. It's pretty funny. So see, that's good. Putting your attention into something that's fun and you have a support network. And yeah, that's a great way to do astrology in action. Um, Hang on. Somebody's commuting right now. Am I in the it's you gotta put Jen in the back. Okay, so Jen's in the back. I have to be up front. I get car sick. Yeah. You do realize somebody's doing dishes right now too, right?
That's what I do when I'm listening to podcasts.
Right? We're doing dishes. Yeah.
Laundry,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
at work.
Yeah. I'm on a beach somewhere too, I suppose. You could be on a beach.
Oh, that's nice.
Right? Yeah. Because I know somebody in the Seychelles is listening, and somebody in Mauritius is listening too, which is very cool. And Madagascar, which is so cool. That's pretty neat. Maybe there's lemurs listening in. Oh, that would be cool. So I like to imagine those things. So if we're helping you get through your day, that's good. That's one of the things I love about all of you, Jen, is you are really heart-centered people with a real desire to be of service in practical and pragmatic ways. Um, we'll be announcing something fun we're going to be doing in July, but we're not going to talk about it on this episode. But we're about to kind of, it's going to be light and fun because obviously, I talk about heavy stuff a lot, and it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a way to prove accuracy, but it's not my favorite kind of astrology. Um, by the way, teaching. Jen, what do you love about teaching?
Oh, it's so fun. I really like the conversations I can have with people.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and like when they're asking questions, it's like making me think of things in a different way. Like, how can
Mm-hmm.
I translate what's in my head to someone else to make it useful?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
when it's like stored up here, it's kind of in its
Mm-hmm.
own language.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Is your language very visual, or is it like sound? Like how do you store your files?
It is very visual, but I'm not like
Mm-hmm.
a super visual person. But it's like, the
Mm-hmm.
layout of the chart. It's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
seeing the connections between
Mm-hmm.
things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like a spider web.
Mm-hmm. I get that. Absolutely. I'm obviously not a visual person. But my mind is, but I always say it's like a heads up display with like interconnecting points and movements. And it's trippy. I'm so excited to hear that. I've never asked you that before. That was cool. Right. So Jen is my TA in Natal Chart Foundations and hosts our office hours, and will be teaching around if this in on her own using my curriculum, but she's going to be bringing some games and stuff to the table. um Madam Sag. um right. And
Yep.
how has like hosting office hours and working with the students, helping prepare the materials, how has that made you feel as an astrologer, as somebody who wants to teach astrology?
Um, it's been really interesting because it's like, oh, I know a lot more than I give myself credit for sometimes. Um, yeah, again, like being immersed in it for so
Mm-hmm.
much, and like you look up to these master astrologers. You're like, you like see the gap between where you want to be and where you
Mm-hmm.
are. It's easy to
Mm-hmm.
forget that like you've already amassed like a good amount of knowledge that is really useful for people. So
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
it's been a
yeah.
realization.
Yeah. You've been living and breathing astrology daily, immersed. It's like, when you have an immersion program for language where you don't speak your native language and you are thrown into this other landscape, and you guys have, that's, again, we should live together at this point. I think we'd all do fine. Um, but it's really that intense. And so it's very different than studying out of books, even for 5, 10 years, 20 years, if you've not worked with other astrologers and developed that understanding. It's much more different. So you guys kind of had an accelerated pathway. You're doing amazing. I knew you were ready to teach beginning astrology. It makes you a better astrologer anyway. You
Hmm.
already wanted to be a little professor, so.
I always wanted that. So when I was little, I was like, I'm gonna go to college. I'm gonna have my own office,
Mm-hmm.
and I do. It's just at home, and I got all my
Mm-hmm.
books, and it's, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm. You don't have to fight
so,
for tenure this way. Um,
yeah. I don't think I could do all the politics. That's why I was like wary of that. Like,
mhm. Yeah, because we don't know until we know, right? I'm going to try to fix this
yeah.
light. It's driving me nuts. So, um, yeah. No, I had the same thing. I wanted to be a professor. So, but you'll always be a teacher. That's who you are. It won't matter. You teach just even in how you live your life. Um, I really enjoyed their homework. I got to get that quiz finished. Maybe I should give you access to the quiz, and you can finish it. Maybe. Laurie's learning how to delegate in her 50s. So I just get busy and I forget to do it. Jen is a remarkable second pair of hands. So I'm grateful to you. So we've got some questions from patrons that we're going to answer here in a little bit. But I think it's time for some patron shout outs. What do you think?
Yes,
Um, do you have access to Patreon where you are at?
I do.
Okay.
Pull it up.
I'm going to let you thank the patrons while I fix my light and I read the newest patrons, because I don't read through all almost 800 people, because that would be its own
Okay.
podcast.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot. So we read the newest on the list. Let me. I don't know why this turned off. Ooh, now it's not. Now it's not. That was in my eye.
Direct. Yeah, turn it on.
Ah! My eyes! My eyes! But yeah. Oh my goodness. Woo! Okay, it's back on. I usually just do first names too, unless I have a cool username.
Oh, I can pull it up. I think
Is it unplanned? I can grab it.
yeah, it's like taking forever to load.
Oh, it's
Love
like
that.
Laurie has to do it. Laurie has to do it. Okay, okay. We're punting. All right. This is the second only video episode, so give us a break. We're getting our stuff together. Okay. I told you tech issues. And notice we're not freaking out when a tech issue happens. We're just like, okay, roll up, keep going. If you've ever been a performer, the show must go on. So, if you're a musician, an actor, a dancer, you can't stop. because something happened. You have to keep going and pretend it didn't, which is sometimes very hard, but it's a good practice for life. Oh, come on. Oh, that's right. It's on the last screen. I rearranged all of my okay,
move your
here they
apps
are.
around.
I did. All right, we've got new patrons. Taryn. Oh, come on, this isn't fair. Zib Ilix? Zib Illies? I don't know. It's XXIB_ILLYXX. Why'd you do that to me? You must listen to the podcast. You're like, we're going to get you this time, Laurie. Like, there's no way I could pronounce that. God bless you and welcome. Christopher Robin. And no, not Christopher Robin, but Christopher Robin.
Comma.
That Mars square sign. Mars is in my 9th house right now, squaring off with Uranus in my 6th or 7th. So I don't know. The agreement to say things right. I don't know. But anyway, as we were saying, the show must go on. Robin, Courtney, Mortal Shell, Carrie, Kate, Diane, Jessica, Alexandra, Farah, Hodger9, Heidi, Justin, Meg, Sabin, Courtney, Kathleen, Megan, Jennifer, Bianca, Jane, Maggie, Melanie, Amber the librarian. Librarians are magic people. I'm just going to say that. Mariah, Melissa, and Sarah. Welcome as patrons. Without you, there is no Awake Space Astrology Podcast. We're just playing around, making new structures. Patron-only discounts on the year ahead readings will stick around past the 25th because I haven't closed the bookings yet because somebody had a payment gateway issue. So you guys are going to get... I'll leave it open for 2 more days. Okay. So Monday and Tuesday. 2 more days. And then it's closed. All right. Because I open them twice a year. And they fill up my reading schedule a lot. And so back-to-back year aheads is a lot. So we'll have a totally different flash sale in July. I'll announce that later. Listeners, if you're not a patron, and you don't have to be, sorry, something's going on with Malcolm. He's okay. He's all right. He's an old guy now, so when he makes weird, strange noises, I have to go look. You all right? Hairball? He's part cat. Anyway, where was I, John?
You're asking me.
You're like, I'm spacing out while she talks. I don't know.
I was listening to Malcolm noises. Like, what is that?
Right? He's fine. He's fine. You're all welcome for this. Remember, Malcolm sounds are free. The look he just gave me. He's like, what? I'm fine. I'm just an old man. Leave me alone. I'm making old man noises. He's a Taurus. So we're watching because he's old. So he's not been able to jump up as high. So I'm watching him. He's not in pain as far as he tells me, but he may go to the vet soon. So I'm just watching him. I completely lost my train of thought.
Year ahead readings.
Oh,
discount.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. So that stays open till Tuesday, this week, which would be 26th, 27th. So that'll stay open. Patron discounts, I'll remind you of them, and I'll send out an email to the email list for yours. There's some juicy savings there. Patrons get the juiciest. We also have a dollar tier. Now, dollar tiers don't get the juicy savings, but you do get access to the Discord, which is an amazing, amazing community. You also get Coffee with Laurie, which we have the last Sunday of every month. More than worth it. It's a great community of people. And the one thing we need to get through the next couple of years is, well, actually, through the next 20 years, is community. So, and learning how to be in community together. So that's an important thing. It takes a lot of skills. So there's that. There's all sorts of stuff coming up in July. I'll talk about that next week on episode 29. Besides teaching, which you're really good at, I get a lot of good reports. I do.
Those like anonymous student surveys.
We're gonna have more of that. I'm trying to think, what else can we talk about here? We're gonna answer some astrology questions, but so one of the things we're gonna start too is the astrologers who feel ready will move into consulting roles, and Jennifer, of course, specializes in helping people align into themselves and addressing their stress responses. Tell us a little bit more about that. What did you want to bring up about that we haven't covered?
Yeah, I specialize in that specifically because that is what I had to do for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like realizing that I was neurodivergent and that the way that I need to care for myself is maybe a little different than the advice I would get from like a traditional therapist before we knew what was going on. Yeah, like just learning to be kind to yourself and not, you know, we do move a little bit differently through the world, so it's a little trial and error in terms of like figuring out things that work. But yeah, like we often have to mask and push down our responses in order to just operate in society. But you need to learn how to also take that off and recharge and regenerate yourself. Yeah, I think that's very important because if you just keep pushing past, then you'd hit the wall, the burnout wall. And it takes a while to recover from that. So,
yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Yeah,
yes,
it's like if you can have someone that, and I've been through it, I am currently going through it still. It's years long work, but yeah, if that's something you struggle with, maybe having someone that's walked a little bit of that journey already can. Yeah, I have some advice for you.
Right. Well, and burnout happens for a lot of people because we're living, I'm neurospicy too. But a lot of people, even who are maybe a little less neurospicy or even normative, are living inauthentically because they're doing what they think they're supposed to be doing versus what aligns with them. So when you hit that burnout wall, a lot of times people blame themselves for not being able to fit in or not do what you're supposed to do. And you have just such a beautiful way of kind of holding people and reassuring them in who they are, and who they are. When we did observations, right out of the gate, I was so impressed with not just the compassion or the empathy, but how you like literally create this like little bubble for people to like it's almost like a protective space, a nurturing space, and then kind of drawing them a little bit out to feel heard and seen, and then offering them resources that they can explore on their own. Not telling them this is what you must do, this is the only way you can do it, but saying you might find this useful. And I was so impressed, like just out of the gate, brand new. I was like, this is a good consulting astrologer in the making. So, yeah. So helping people with burnout, helping people who maybe walk to a different drummer, march to a different drummer. I always used to say I have my own percussion section. Well, yeah. And it's okay. And at least we live in a world where it's talked about.
Yeah. Yes, a lot more people are aware now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's nice to be able to equip people. So that's where you're wanting to direct your attention for now. We kind of go through stages as we grow, our work in the world grows. So that's a pretty worthy endeavor. I like that. Let's see. Oh, are you at work yet? Are you at work? Did you make it there? Okay, good. Because it's a pretty weird Monday. If you're still stuck in traffic, take a deep breath. Everybody take a deep breath. Yeah, right? Yeah. Shake it out. Don't shake it out if you're driving. Unless you're stopped. If you're stopped, but still keep your eyes on the road. Hands on 10 and 2. Deep breaths. Exhale. You're good. If you're folding laundry, maybe you've put it away by now. Oh, what a day. Taking a walk. I love it when people take walks for us. I just don't get out enough. So I like it when I go for walkies. Let's answer some astrology questions. This question is from Zaki Poo. The form says name to read on podcast, so I follow instructions. Hey, Zaki Poo. So the question is, I've noticed a lot of us have charts set up in the mid degrees that can give us 2 signs in each house of our natal chart. My question is, if a transit is occurring in the beginning degrees of a sign in one house, does that transit energy ripple to the following house? My thought process is the energy would ring out to the next. What are your thoughts on that, Jen?
Yeah, I feel like that's true. It's like sort of opening the door to what that sort of transit is showing you. Just like a different sort of energy to it. I've been understanding that through the Pluto transit I've been dealing with in the 12th house. It's like a little different when it moved into Aquarius.
Mm-hmm.
It's like in Capricorn, like changing structures of day to day, and then as it moves into Aquarius, it's like those changes are ringing out into the rest of what is happening. So it's like opening the door to the
Kind of,
rest.
yeah. It's more like echoes.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like echoes. So the closer that planet transits to the cusp of the next house, then it's applying in and it's impacting both. But until it gets there, it's more like, guess what you're going to deal with? Or, hey, if you do this work, this is going to be a lot easier. Speaking of Pluto. But yeah, so until it gets within about, 3-4 degrees of the next house, it's not as strong to the next house. But you're still the overarching energy really is, setting it up. It's a setup. It is kind of like so it just depends on how close it is, on the intensity of the application. Good question, Zaki Poo. That was funny. But yeah, how are you noticing like that? So you mentioned Pluto in Aquarius. It did have a vastly different energy to it. It was a little less Darth Vader.
Yeah, I realized like when it moved retrograded back, I was like, oh, it's so heavy. Oh,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
oh.
Mm-hmm. But you get this chance to clean out what hasn't been cleaned out yet,
Mm-hmm.
so that helps, is kind of knowing, oh, this is what I still need to let go of, or this is the work I need to focus on. It's harder when you're younger. Those transits, like, that's what drove me to astrology. It was harsh, the opposition to my sun and my Mercury has just more been like, behave, don't overexpend your energy, don't think of yourself as weird, you know because even though I was forced to mask and forced to have social skills, which I'm grateful for, because if I hadn't, the teasing I got would not have ended. I mean, I was teased enough because, there were some things I couldn't, you know. So, you know, but oh man, I'm glad my mom made me. It was contentious between us. I used to be really mad about it, but now where I'm at today, I say, oh yeah, that was good. But as an older adult who is living in a different world than my childhood, it was like, just allow that self to be. And that is not easy. That's not easy. There's a little bit of, I'm a little weird. I'm a little weird. You can see that when I'm really tired. I get frustrated really easy when I'm tired. I lose that. I get cranky because I can see things really clear. I may not see it clearly with my glasses, but I can see things so clearly in my mind. I'll be like, "What do you mean you don't understand? It's simple." Yeah. So, yeah. So there we go. All right. We've got another question from Lisette. How does the ascendant and midheaven differ in how you see and how do they differ in how you are seen, and how do they blend if they do? Bum, bum, bum. I thought that was a really interesting question. What are your thoughts, Jen?
See, the ascendant is that like first impression when you walk into a room. It's like the energy you're bringing into the situation. Um, it's like what people like first notice about you. Like they look at you, your physical body, like the way that you are. And then the midhaven is like when how you're reaching your ambitions. It's like how you're going about exerting your authority. Um, yeah, so it's like that is also a way that people are seeing you, but they probably know you a little bit more than that first impression.
Yeah, because it's your reputation. It's your reputation. So people have to know you or have heard of you. And you may not identify with your 10th house. Now, some people do. You've got planets in the 10th house. Did you, when you learned about your 10th house, did you go, oh yeah? Or did you go,
Yeah,
yeah?
yeah, because I always wanted to be a professor. I have a Sag midhaven, Sun
Mm-hmm.
and Mercury in the 10th. Like that's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, duh.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's the only time people really know their like 10th house stuff is the Sun, Mercury, maybe Venus. You'll know what you want to do. Mars, you might be directive, but you might have been slapped down for being bossy. Same with Saturn and Pluto. But the Sun and Mercury, you'd be like, yeah, I'm about that. I do not have that. And it is a push and a pull for me. So you've got a Sag midheaven and an Aquarius, late Aquarius rising. Do they make aspect? I can't remember.
No, they don't.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 8 degrees on the midhaven, 23 on
All right.
ascendant. So it's
Right. So there's no interference. You don't have the friction, you know. So it's a
yeah.
little.
If my Sun and Mercury are sextile my ascendant, though. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So it's energizing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So like yeah, being a teacher and getting that experience really does like I feel really good after we have class
I
or
love how you
office hours
smile
or
about that. She
anything.
just glows,
Yeah.
right? She just glows. That's really good. I love that. Yeah. So my midhaven is a late degree of Leo, and I have a mid degree Scorpio rising. I don't like to be on camera. I don't even like to be seen. And I had to perform as a kid because I went into voice lessons, and because people said I just kind of went along with it. I was like, okay, I'll learn something new. You know? Um, I would throw up before every competition. My mother would make me, but she didn't make me because she was like a stage mother. She knew I was so shy that if I didn't do those types of things while I was uncomfortable, I would not. I would be. She was so afraid I'd be a recluse. Um, well, I am, Mom, but we have the internet now. Um, but it was probably the best. It was kind of worth the discomfort. I had a lot of anxiety, and learning to push through that and manage it um, made it so if my light goes off or I drop something or whatever, I'm not mortified, But I still didn't like doing video. I'm a vocalist, so I love doing voiceovers. But the world is, by the way, we've been recording for 111. 111. That we do that on live streams. 111. So there it is. But yeah, so for me, you may not get to know who I am, or people will still feel a presence because of the Scorpio rising. If you're a Scorpio rising, you know what I'm talking about. People say you're intimidating. You're all of like 5 foot nothing, right? I'm 5'5". They'll be like, "You're so intimidating," and I'll be like, "Okay." By the way, that's somebody else's insecurities. Um, it's hard to live with when you're young. Um, but you do have an intensity about you, and that's what people feel. They feel this intensity, and then there's the Leo midhaven. So people be like, "You're cool." Be like, I'm glad being a geek is cool now. That's cool. Get over the past, um and an individual. I think that's part of why too. I had an aha about it the other day. Um, that the ambition to self-actualize is what's recognized. I think that just living authentic, people often see the authenticity, and I think that's the Leo, because I don't see the rest. The Pluto in Virgo in that house, I've always understood and felt, because you know I had a stick up my ass when I was young. It took a long time to get it out, but yeah. So to me, it can be a conflict. People can be startled if you don't show yourself. So if you don't like to be seen, and yet you have a midhaven that is a seeing one and not a behind the scenes one, um, deal with it because you have to. Um,
Yeah. Like you literally told me that in my first reading. It was like I like to be behind the scenes. You're like, uh-uh.
mhm.
Uh,
You'll
yeah.
be
It's
foisted.
kind of
You'll be foisted, especially
yeah.
you with the sun and Mercury there. Like, how you gonna hide?
I know it's always been like that, and I've gotten annoyed.
Hmm.
Like, leave me alone.
But it's through your sun and your Mercury. So it's through what you love and what energizes you, you know? So
Yeah.
that's learning to follow your heart space. Love that. All right, we've got one more. Do do do. Let's see. I gotta find it because I actually was organized this time. Let's see. All right. This is Steve of Finland. I love that username. How do you use minor aspects, i.e., quintile, septile, octile, quincunx, etc., in your practice? I ask because I have 5 quintiles and 3 biquintiles in my chart, all within a 2-degree orb. Jupiter quintile Uranus, the moon quintile the ascendant, and Venus quintile the ascendant are aspects in my natal chart that are all within the orb of 0 degrees and 5 minutes. Wow, that's a lot of tight orbs. We need to make merch. I never mean that as a joke. It's like, not those orbs. Orbs are like a degree of separation. Jeez. I personally don't put a lot of emphasis on minor aspects because I can see the energetic relationship through the other and through using dispositors and rulerships very heavily. However, the amount of minor aspects you have in your chart, I read this before, and I've been waiting to have this on. I went back and I thought about it for a while. And so in your case, you have a lot of natural ability because almost all of the minor aspects speak to, except for like the semi-square. The semi-square is an irritation. It's not a huge frustration, but it's like when you have something like a speck in your shoe and it's not a rock. It's just kind of that rubbing or the tag on the back of your clothes. The seams in your socks, that kind of, For some people, that's a square frustration. For other people, it's a minor irritation. It would be the semi-squares and a minor irritation. All of those other ones, except the quincunx, and we'll put the quincunx to the side, the biquintile, the septile, the octile, those are actually what are considered more benefic. And it's like, same with semi-sextiles. They're supportive, but they're almost subconscious. Like you have a lot of talent, like inherent talent, and you may not know why you're good at something, but you just are. So it may be hard for you to see it or recognize because you don't have to, Quincunx is like ships passing in the night. Should I tell them the dating story?
Yeah. Yeah.
So even though my mother told me I can't use people as science experiments, I didn't listen. So when I was dating, I went through a phase of just meeting people, getting their charts first. I would tell them I was an astrologer, and even if they didn't believe it, they'd give me the information because they didn't think it was real. And I would go on a date just to see how the synastry expressed itself. And there was this one guy, everything was quincunx, okay, in the synastry. He was kind of cute, but not. He was kind of sexy, but not. He was kind of a good kisser, not. I was kind of attracted, but not. I kind of enjoyed our conversation, not. And it was weird. It was just kind of like, it was almost, but not quite. Now, in your own natal chart, it's like a nerd high five. Do you know what a nerd high five is?
No.
What? Okay. Instead of this, it's whoop.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's, I love nerd high fives. But anyway, it just doesn't quite line up. And now, the only exception to that is when you have 2 in conjuncts or quincunx joined by a sextile, which forms what they call a yod. I think people overemphasize these things, but a yod does have an emphasis on the planet that makes the point at the top, because it's a very narrow triangle. So it's the point at the top where there's kind of an underlying emphasis in life, like a directional thing. So is that Noodle?
Yeah, he's being crazy, so he's on the lap timeout.
You will be cuddled. You can show people Noodle.
He's crying now.
She's
He's
holding
chasing his
me
tail
hostage.
around. Yeah.
Malcolm, it's fine. He's looking for the cat. He's like, grumpy old man dog. You like cats, knock it off. But anyway, so that's kind of it. I don't really emphasize these things in charts. And the reason being is it's right up there with tossing in every calculation point, every asteroid. If you actually go into the very rudimentary, pardon me for being reductionist, very rudimentary, sorry, that's just being some side-eye to somebody. Very rudimentary astrology. If you get into the bones and the basics, everything else in the chart, whether it's an asteroid, a calculation point, a nodal axis, fixed stars, you name it, it'll all verify the original astrology. If you're finding out something new, you need to go back and study the basics, because the basics will give you everything you need to know. I feel like it's Johnny Carson with the animals. There was the tail. But yeah.
Yep.
So now Jen loves math. And have you looked at minor aspects at all?
Not really. I've looked at the inconjunct
Mm-hmm.
just because I have some in my own chart. It's
Mm-hmm.
been interesting to observe. And I
Tell us
like to
about
see
it.
how it's playing out for other people. Oh yeah, my
Mm-hmm.
Sun and Mercury are in conjunct my Moon
Oh,
5 degrees.
nice.
So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. So a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times I'll be like having an emotional response, and I'll be like
Mm-hmm.
in my head, I'm like, "What are you doing?"
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, see, I put the inconjunct more into, or the quincunx. It's the same aspect. I put that as like at the end of the major aspects. I don't really consider that as much of a minor aspect as biquintiles and octiles, and but because of your question, Steve of Finland, just saying that because it's a good name. Um, I actually went back and just was like, let's really observe that. Let's take a look at that. So yeah, so mhm. Because honestly, you can parse it down, you know, to the nth degree. And I think we over intellectualize astrology. I think we get very heady with it when we can actually integrate it into understanding, it is you. Your chart is you. All those people that say, the chart's not you. Yeah, it is. It is you. It is you in all of your possible expressions of self. Okay. We grow, we mature, we have greater understanding, hopefully. Um, and intellectualizing yourself is what kind of gets you into trouble. Whereas you can say, "Oh, I'm having this experience and I operate this way. You know, how can I de-stress, or how can I energize myself more?" Or you can't do that from an intellectualized response. What's your experience with that, John?
Yeah, that's definitely true. I dealt with for a lot of my life intellectualizing my feelings and um, experiences,
Mm-hmm.
um, just being like, "Oh, that's the reason why," and
Mm-hmm.
then ignoring like how I felt about it. and processing that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so you can like know the reason behind something, but having the experience like fully embodied is
Mm-hmm.
um, helps you move through it
Mm-hmm.
instead of just like turning things over and over and over in your head on
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
like figuring out all the aspects of things doesn't fix, the the feeling inside.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we've talked about this in private a little bit. So like, when a therapist or somebody else says, well, just experience the feelings, for you, that wasn't the best thing. How did you get in touch with that?
Yeah, I people would tell me that and I'll be like, "What do you mean? I'm feel like I have feelings." But I was realizing that I do sort of or did a lot when I was younger. Just being like, oh, like if I can identify the emotion, then that's the same as
Feeling
experiencing
it?
it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
that's not it.
Yeah.
It is like literally being in the body and
Mm-hmm.
experiencing the sensations and just letting
Mm-hmm.
it move through.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Whether it's the
Yeah.
lump in the throat, it's really learning to feel the body.
Hmm.
Like, it could be I get a lump in my throat, or I feel tight. My shoulders are up to my ears. My hands are clenched, and my face is tight. We've got exercises on that in the mystery school to pay attention to your body and its tension patterns. It's really important. I used to intellectualize mine too because my moon and sun are squared. If the world was flat, for anybody who's a flat earther, I'm sorry, the cats have proved you wrong, because they would have knocked everything off the edge, right?
Yeah, it's his favorite activity. He's like,
Right.
I'm over it, Mom. I'm gonna start knocking crystals down and playing with them.
That's funny. All right, one more. Let's see, one more. Thank you, Steve of Finland. I hope that answered your question. Um, oh, Oh, here's again. And Steve offered another good question. I only see decans used when talking about the sun or the ascendant. Do you use decans to enhance your interpretation of planets in natal readings? For instance, my Scorpio Pluto is in the Scorpio decan. In what ways would that differ from a Scorpio Pluto in the Pisces or Cancer decan? Very good question, Steve. I'm going to run with this. Use decans for everything, whether it's a house cusp or a planet or a calculation point. I don't know who you're listening to that only uses them in, is it Reddit? It might be Reddit. Reddit isn't always a very good source for good astrology, just saying. That's why I went public. But yeah, no, decans are used for everything because it shows how the signs expression. So we don't overemphasize it. What do we do, Jen?
It's a top note.
It's a top note. Yeah, just like in
Just a
wine, you have
little,
top notes, bottom
yeah,
notes. Mm-hmm.
just like a little sprinkling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Pluto and Scorpio is Pluto and Scorpio, period. By the way, I lived through those transits. I don't know how I lived through those transits, but I did. Um, Transits do not express the same way as natal, okay, placements. But so Pluto and Scorpio in the Scorpio decan is, it's the Death Star, you know. I'm just kidding. You have a lot of intensity, basically, where you might, and you're regenerative. You're high. This is what people don't realize about Pluto and Scorpio. You are so regenerative. Okay, so it's the Chumbawamba song. I get knocked down, but I get up again. I think Pluto in Scorpio in the Cancer decan would be maybe have a top note of tenacity. So until you get the issues just won't be shaken. And maybe the way you move through your transformations is through understanding how to nurture It also might indicate, and a very light indication, depending on the placement of it in a house, maybe transformations with a family origin. Not always, So, and it could be through creating your own, Pluto in Scorpio in the Pisces decan might be you intuitively put yourself into situations where you have to transform. Because Pluto, we do kind of walk into walls with those, especially when we're younger. When we're older, we have a little more perspective, a little more agency. It's a little different if we're conscious. If you're not conscious, you can get, it doesn't matter how old you are, you'll get smacked right between the eyes. So cultivating your consciousness and self-awareness and self-mastery is really important. And self-mastery does not mean perfection. It just means you're able to course correct. So that's how I see that. Jen has to rescue crystals. She's like, nothing like being on camera and you're like, oh, hell's breaking loose behind me and I'm going to keep going. Like, what are you doing?
Oh my God.
Right? Kids, go ahead and deal with it. It's okay. You're all right. If you need to save Noodle from Noodle, that's fine. So while Jen's taking care of her crystals and saving them from Noodle the cat, one of the things that happened during the full moon meditation, which if you missed that, boy, was that a powerful experience. There were some disturbances, and people who were participating actually also had a lot of interference while this meditation was happening that I was channeling. Malcolm went like ballistic, like in a way he never, like he barks. You guys have all heard him bark. If you knew, Malcolm barks are free. Luckily he was on the other side of the mic and we didn't get that, but he was viciously trying to get to something through the door. And it didn't shake my concentration entirely. Yeah, you won't shake it either, Noodle. It didn't shake my attention entirely, but what it did do was make me just lessen the focus a little bit. And I realized it was very much part of the energies, because the whole thing was about bringing your focus back into self. It was a very healing meditation. I'm halfway tempted to get this one up on Snip Feed for people to purchase this week because it was so good. It was so good. I not the video version. I'm not going to do that. I'm not ready for that yet. Only the participants who were there will get that, but the audio. But everybody had a little bit of interference because we've got a lot of interference coming up to this full moon. And the bringing your focus back inside instead of allowing yourself to be outraged, distracted. It was a teaching. It was a teaching. But yeah, Malcolm lost his shit. It was insane. He was like snarling and like, I'm like, inside my head, I'm like, now? Of course now. So, and it was even explained that he was serving as a teacher in the moment of not allowing the distractions, including aggressive distractions, because he doesn't do that from behind the door very often. I think his arch nemesis, the Chihuahua, was walking by or something. They don't like each other. They've never met, thank God. But anyway, it was just a really interesting thing. So it's all about holding your focus. So now he's purring.
Yeah, now I'm paying attention to him, so he's happy.
Duh.
He stole my smoky quartz.
Rude. He was going to hold it hostage, right? Well, if you guys want to book a reading with Jen, I highly suggest it, and you or any of the other astrologers, because they're all wonderful. You can go to the Awake or to wokeastrology.com /book-online and you'll see the natal astrologers first. My readings are in a separate tab. We'll keep those year ahead readings open for 2 more days, but that's it. And that's only because I had a couple people have some technical issues because what? Mars and Uranus are square. Woo! To all of my patrons who were patient with me while I was sick, thank you. You can tell my energy is back up almost to normal. Still have a little bit of a cough and irritation, from that, but it's almost done. We're just dealing with the residuals. But I'm feeling so much better. So thank you for your thoughts, your good thoughts, your good energy, the healing vibes you sent my way. I totally appreciate it. We will be back running at some kind of speed. I don't know full speed. July is so, I don't know. Last year when I looked at this year's solar return, because my birthday month is July, so of course we do something super fun for my birthday month. But because we celebrate from July 1st all the way to July 31st, because I like birthdays. When I saw my solar return, I was like, huh, really? But I know on a personal level, you can have a great time. So I expect it to be so. I'm like, what in the world is going on in the world? One last thing. If you've hung on with us this long, I hope the dishes are done. I hope you are safely parked and you got good parking. If you're at your desk, I hope we've helped you do some kind of mundane morning task and get through that. And if you're eating, I hope it's good. Don't let yourselves get hangry this week. But I am doing the 2024 year ahead on June 30th. There is still room. You can book for that. If you book for that, you get to come in November at no extra charge. So you get a twofer. The June is accurate. It's just the November. I get a little more specific because we're closer into it. So, but doing both is really worth it. So make sure you sign up for that, patrons. You get your juicy discount. It's a $5 tier and up. So there's that. Jen, thank you for being here.
Yeah, this is fun.
It was fun. I think I'm going to do this with you guys. Yeah. I think I'm going to do this with you guys. This is a lot more fun for me than like sitting here on my couch and just talking and pretending like somebody's here. So thank you. Alrighty. You'll see more of Jen here on the Awake Space Astrology Podcast. Have a great day. Deep breaths. And if you're a patron, make sure you come into the Discord. The venting chamber is where it's at to do your scream into the void. And you'll find lots of support. And we'll try to keep our focus on what moves us forward. See you next week.